Aggies Can is celebrating over 2 decades of giving back to our local community. Electronic donations are accepted now through November 30th. Special thanks to Brookshire Brothers, HEB, and KBTX for partnering with our Student Athlete Advisory Committee in support of the Brazos Valley Food Bank and the 12th Can. Text Aggies Can to 83200 or visit 12thman.com/AggiesCan to learn more. It is the Aggie Basketball Hour with Buzz Williams, and right now that is the Aggie Basketball Hour with TJ Ryan. This is how we are tipping it. This is, a couple weeks in the making. Buzz said this the last show, oh, you're getting TJ. Got to tell you all that on Friday after Ohio State's win, he was talking about Lance. He said, well, I have to have Lance on the show. I said, whoa. You put TJ in there.
So I have you to blame because I was hoping and praying that he forgot about it.
You a little substitution pattern?
Yeah, I thought there was a little substitution. But.
No, it's TJ, Director of Scouting for A&M. You have been here with Buzz, but that's not where the relationship begins with Buzz Williams, does it?
No, sir, it is not.
Virginia Tech is when you got together.
So I was very fortunate. I come from my father was a head basketball coach at a Division II school back home in St. Petersburg, Florida. So I've known for a very long time that I wanted to get into coaching, kind of trying to find my own path in that and my own way in that. I went to a small Division III school out in Indiana and was a really, really bad player there. Cannot overestimate how bad I was. I think I missed 1 3, maybe drew 1 offensive foul, and had a turnover that I almost knocked my head coach's wife out in the stands with a pass out of bounds. So my basketball career is not nearly as good as BD's, who was earlier on the show a couple weeks ago, but I quickly hung that up and decided I wanted to get into coaching while still in college. And while pursuing that, I was kind of looking for any type of avenue or way that I could get in. And one of the ways that I was trying to get in was traveling the country working different basketball camps. So I would spend my entire summers traveling, working camp to camp from UCLA to Indiana to Butler to Virginia, Virginia Tech, Liberty, as many as I could possibly find. And in doing that, one of the camps that I was working was Virginia Tech. And for whatever reason, I was really drawn to him and his staff. And I like to think of myself as very prepared, but I knew nothing about Coach Williams when I got there, and I should have. I should have known about his history at Marquette. I should have known about what he was turning around there at Virginia Tech. But as I was standing around there, I kind of felt at home. I kind of felt like what he was doing and how he ran his program and how he identified was the kind of path that I wanted to go down as a man and as a coach. So in doing that, I was just trying to find any way to stay in touch with his staff as I could. I got close with his whole staff around him, and then I knew that he was really into letters, so I'd write him a letter every single month or twice a month throughout the season. I tried to poke my head around as much as I could. So for 2 years, he saw me every summer for at least 2 weeks every summer. He saw my name come across his desk for every week, and I was very fortunate that the timing lined up, and I ended up being a GA for him for all of 8 or 9 months at Virginia Tech before he took the job here at Texas A&M.
Now, I know it's not the same path, but there's a lot of similarities of how he became a head coach, are they not? I mean, you were going to take every opportunity, same way he was going to talk to any coach who would talk back. Not talk back to him, who would reply, or he would get, like, he was picking that brain. You were doing the same thing, weren't you?
Yes, sir. I'd say that a lot of that was intentional on my part, especially as I identified him as someone that I wanted to work for. He was not the only coach that I was writing consistently, but he was one of the ones that I got that idea from. I heard how he wanted to do it. I heard stories about how he went about his life, how he went about his daily habits, and I kind of learned early on, well, if someone like him, who comes from a background of not being a player, of being a manager, of trying to work your own way through to the stage that you're in today, can do it, why wouldn't I try to copy that mold and try to see how I can be successful in that mold when there's already an example of someone out there doing that? And I would say that there's a lot of coaches, not just on our staff, but in the country, who see what he does with that and tries to emulate that and replicate that for themselves to see if it can carry them to where they want to go.
Tell me if you agree with this. College sports needs more Buzz Williams, not fewer.
I would definitely agree with that.
Yeah. It's amazing. And it's funny, Mike Elko says this as head coach. You have to coach your coaches as well as the players. Buzz says he uses the football analogy, but really it's the way to do it, where offense, defense, special teams. For you, with scouting, how are you impacting practice and games?
Yeah, so one thing that I think is awesome about Coach Williams, and I know this will go somewhat against your question, but we all have titles and positions, and those titles and positions mean something, but they really mean nothing to us within the office. So our jobs, we all have buckets within our jobs, but our job is to try to fulfill our bucket, try to succeed in our bucket, but try to expand our role as much as possible. So for me, I'd love to say that it's one specific thing that I do, but really it's how can I be of service to our players? How can I be of service to our players? and our staff and our coaches and our assistant coaches. A lot of trying to find ways to help them through the scouting of opponents, through the scouting of our own players, through looking at portal players and looking at high school players, through tendencies I can pick up on, through those special situations like you're bringing up. What are the situations we can be in? How are we prepared for those moments? What are we doing in preparation for those moments? Trying to be the person who's behind the scenes that you hopefully never see my face, which is why I was hoping I wouldn't be on this week. But hopefully I'm the person behind the scenes that is preparing the rest of our staff as well as possible for those moments. And then I never get called out to be on a radio show like this.
What did your mom say?
My mom said that she loves me, but I have a face for radio. So she was very happy. She didn't know this would be recorded, so I'll send her this later. But she'll be making fun of me all the next month at least.
Well,
so.
That's what moms are for, right?
Exactly.
So your dad in the Sunshine State Conference, 23 years at Eckerd, right? That's a very good conference, by the way, for all sports. Now the director of athletics, but he coached for 23 years. Did you almost feel like, okay, that was going to be my path, and did that help you fall in love with basketball?
It for sure did. I would say that around second grade, I was saying I wanted to be a basketball coach. And to be fair, I think there's a lot of kids who especially look up to their dad the way that I look up to my dad. They say, oh, well, when I grow up one day, I'm going to be a basketball coach. But at some point, or I'm going to be what he is. And at some point that changes or that transfers or that kind of transforms into something else. And for me, it just never did. It was always my passion. My mom and dad both vigorously and aggressively tried to talk me out of it multiple times along the way. You're not going to make any money. You're never going to be home. You're going to be tired all the time. You're going to have to work. And then when I went to go work for Coach Williams, they said, well, if you really love it, you're about to figure it out very, very fast because we say it all the time, but 1 year with Coach Williams is like 6 years anywhere else. So I would just say that I knew early that I wanted to coach. I knew what I was passionate about. I knew that I loved basketball. But what I really learned from an early age was the impact that my dad had on a lot of young men's lives in such a critical stage in their life. In my opinion, people have asked me, do you want to coach in do you want to coach high school? Do you want to coach in the NBA? Do you want to coach overseas? What is it? I think for me, my passion has always been the college level because of it's such a transforming time in so many people's lives that kind of take you from one stage of your life and really push you out into the real world where you're going to become the man and woman and child and husband and father that you're going to become. And kind of seeing my dad bring people from different walks of life together and the different struggles that he went through in coaching and the success stories that came from all of that really motivated me to kind of pursue that type of passion and that type of work.
Does that hit you harder what he was doing? I mean that in a good way, the impact that it has, that you were the 18-year-old who was playing, changed your mind, right? Get out at 22, then get into coaching, and now you're seeing the different coaches and the impact they have on the 18 to 22s. And now you're seeing a little bit more of some of the older players and that, okay, maybe it's not basketball any longer, but they're in life and they're good. They're always going to be good brothers, good fathers, good husbands, whatever that is. Like you're starting, you lived it and now you're realizing it. Did it hit you because of a dad of a coach and working with Buzz?
I think for sure, and I think that it's really influenced the way that I look at my relationships with our players. How can it be more than just basketball? How can it not be transactional? How can it be translational? How can it translate to other parts of their life and other parts of my life with them? I think it's really important. I have relationships with some of my dad's former players. He has relationships with many of his former players. That really spoke to me a lot all growing up when they would bring their kids back to watch our games. And now I'm coaching their kids in camps when I'm a junior in high school, and all of a sudden I'm yelling at them the same way they were yelling at me when they were working the camps and complaining about foul calls. And then to kind of see that same thing happen here where now we've got staff members who have played for Coach. We've got a staff that has worked for Coach for so many years. But not just that, but players who come back and speak to the team, players who spend time around the team, players who you can tell that they're taking the lessons that they learned during their time with Coach Williams and really carrying it over to the rest of their life and trying to find a way to pass that knowledge along to other people.
Internships in Germany and Spain, huh?
Yes, sir.
How were those?
It was really cool. So I don't know if I've ever talked to Coach Williams much about this, but my senior year, I had been working as a student assistant, obviously, at that Division III school, and it got to a point where at the Division III level, you're not allowed to work with anyone outside of the season. So you have specific months from October 15th all the way until the end of the season that you're allowed to work out players and you're allowed to coach. And my coach, another interesting story, was the AD at my school and the head coach, and now he's actually the president at my old university. Wow. So he was very tied into the rules and regulations. So he constantly told me, TJ, you can kind of bend these rules. You can kind of do this, do that. And by the time I became a senior, he was like, TJ, his saying was, you walk like a duck, you sound like a duck. TJ, you're a duck, you're a coach. You're not allowed to be doing this anymore. I'm going to get in trouble. Football wants to do the same thing that you're doing. So it got to a point where he wanted me to ease off, and he kind of tried to transition me, or I looked into different opportunities to kind of grow and learn other places. And there was a group that used to come and play in my dad's camps every summer from Spain. And one of the fathers of the group who kind of ran the whole thing was saying, hey, come out with us. We'd love for you to work with our girls out here, our girls team out here. We'd love for you to help teach them English, even though I don't know any Spanish. They just want someone to speak English
Gotcha.
to. And then one of my dad's former players was also an assistant coach for a Champions League team out in Germany.
Wow.
And then we had another family friend who was coaching out in Italy. So I spent a month traveling around, learning from all these different places, working with professional teams, kind of trying to study and learn as much as I can from these different groups. And just, it was an awesome life experience. And then the part that I didn't talk to Coach much about, but I had a job opportunity to go live in Germany after. And it was between that and the job with Coach at Virginia Tech, going back and forth on that. And my dad, after probably 2 or 3 days of thinking about it, my dad said, you're an idiot. Take the job with Coach Williams. You'll be happy over there in Germany, but your job will never be the same unless you go work for Coach.
Yeah.
So
great to have that kind of choice.
Yes, it was. It
awesome.
was.
TJ, thanks for sharing all the stories.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Absolute pleasure. TJ Ryan, Director of Scouting for Texas A&M Men's Basketball. More of the Aggie Basketball Hour with Buzz Williams. This is Aggie Basketball from Learfield. The 12th Man Foundation is the official fundraising organization and ticket provider for Texas A&M Athletics. Support a 75-year legacy and help shape the future of Aggie athletics by donating today. 12thmanfoundation.com. It's the Aggie Basketball Hour with Buzz Williams. Howdy, Coach. Good to have you here.
Yeah, thank you.
How good was TJ, huh? You knew it. You knew it.
I knew it about 100%.
It was fantastic. You know, it's funny. Landry was nervous. TJ was a little nervous. I was like, look, it's just a conversation, and people love to tell you what they know, right? And that's what it becomes. But to me, this is just a conversation. And what can I learn, and what can the 12th man learn? They see TJ, right? They see Landry. It's nice to get a
yeah, those are great
deeper
reps for them. I appreciate you allowing them to do it. We'll do Josh whenever the next one is.
Okay. I think it's a couple weeks. Yeah, now, I have to say this about Josh. Buzz, I truly believe what you and he have done since he's been with you, ahead of the curve, along the lines of to be able to design your own logo, to have an identity and a brand for an individual player, kind of predated NIL. And I really look forward to talk to him about that, because that's something that's truly personal.
He was the first one in men's basketball, and we were probably so far ahead of the curve that I initially hired him as my secretary because I couldn't convince the administration to understand what we were doing. And obviously now there's hundreds of Joshes,
right? But
Josh is a pioneer as it relates to his creativity and his talent. And I think he kind of stays ahead on all of that sort of stuff and has allowed us, no matter where we've been, to be able to do things before other people do it.
How do you identify the passion that a TJ Ryan and a Josh Chambers have? Because they have that passion, don't they?
Yeah, both of those guys are outliers in regards to their IQ, specific to their responsibilities. TJ will coach a lot longer than I will, but as long as I'm coaching, he'll always have a job with me. He has grown tremendously in the 7 years he's been with us. And he's so far ahead. I heard him say something about his title. I have no idea what his title is. Like, whatever you want it to be. Right. I tell all of them that. But like the things that he touches within our program, he has a distinct touch, not just with me, not just with our staff, but also with our guys. And that's really hard to do. And with each passing year, he's finding ways to broaden his paradigm and to create more of a niche relative to what we do. We don't have a meeting unless TJ's there. We don't do a practice plan without TJ. He's an integral part of all things basketball related. And to some degree, Josh is an integral part of everything that doesn't have to do with coaching. And so those guys do not office together. They office next to one another. Josh is in his 10th year, so he's a little ahead, but similar in regards to how they started. Josh was a manager for us at Virginia Tech. We hired TJ in our last season there. His first year with us, our last season at Virginia Tech, he was our graduate assistant. I hired one GA that's kind of with me, and that's how Lyle started. Devin started as a manager. Josh started as a manager. And so from an early stage of prior to their career starting in some regards, they've just kind of all created ownership in what we do and have created their own buckets. And Josh knows way more about basketball than his role suggests. And he's even found some ways in some of the things that we do basketball related to find ways to help us. He's really, really sharp with analytics, kind of a different version of analytics than what TJ is responsible for. I text Josh every Sunday. If I take a nap, I text him after my nap. If I know that Sunday I'm not getting a nap, I text him that Sunday morning on my walk. And so it's always the same. And so I'll not that anybody cares, but there are 12 people listening, so.
It's gone up this year.
Yeah, well, I'm counting Paul and Nani.
Yeah, of
it's
course.
only one.
They're the first two.
They're only one radio, but there's two people listening.
Yeah, we count them as two.
Yeah, count. We need to count
So,
them.
they're like Michelle, when Michelle's still back at Apex, North Carolina. Michelle Elko. She's number one. She's the first one.
That counts as one. How do you think things are going the last few days? ? What advice do you have for me to concentrate on the next few days? And I just copy and paste that every Sunday. And then he sends me like 19 paragraphs.
Yeah.
And then the first thing was, he always, because he's so smart, will send you my notes shortly. Like he's been taking notes, because throughout the day he just takes notes, and then he just chronologically, just paragraph after paragraph.
Yeah. It's trust.
Oh, that's
right?
That's exactly right.
You've always surrounded yourself with people. You know what I see when I say smart?
Hey, Corey just texted me. Baby's playing, so we have 13 tonight. Corey's normally here. Baby's playing.
Yep. Okay.
So baby, you're 13.
Yeah. Love it.
That's good.
Starting to skyrocket. Hey, when we come back, I want to play Mike Elko responded to what you said about championship mindset. That will be next when we return to the Aggie Basketball Hour with Buzz Williams. This is Aggie Basketball from Learfield. When you need a new roof or just have a pesky leak, you want to call on the winning team at Schulte Roofing, home of the Bulletproof Roof Guarantee. Get the best. Visit SchulteRoofing.com. This is where we cross-promote one another. Aggie Football Hour, Mike Elko will be on Wednesday at 7:30. Talked with Buzz before one of the games, and we talked about championship mindset. Played that for Mike on Wednesday. So Mike Elko reacts to Buzz Williams on championship mindset.
Yeah, I think Coach Elko's probably way ahead of me, not just because of the sport he coaches. In my interactions with him, I think he's brilliant. I don't know how to evaluate football, but very fast-twitch brain. I think he has a unique sense of what impacts winning. And in the film room, on the grass, listening to every interview he does, reading every quote he's had, as a coach, you pick up on what he believes impacts winning the most. And I think that from the outside, not Coach Elko, not Buzz, from the outside, if you're only watching on game days, you tend to ride a roller coaster of, oh, this is an important game. Oh, this was a big game. Oh, that was an awful loss. And I think the urgency that comes with a championship mindset is the ability to do it daily, regardless of location, regardless of time, regardless of opponent. Because the urgency required, you need to create and manufacture as many reps as possible on non-game days so that when those situations present themselves on game days, the organization as a whole has practiced with urgency those scenarios, and the attention span required to do that, the energy required to do that is probably a little bit higher than the normal civilian realizes. But I do think that that's a separator. As football goes into the close, it's really not, let's excel, we're playing New Mexico State Saturday. It's, no, we just came off a bye week, and the last time we played, there were some things I would say that coach feels like, not because they lost, there's some things we got to improve at relative to the championship mindset. And I think the same thing applies whether you're talking about hockey, whether you're talking about baseball, and that's the real game within the game.
It really is, isn't it?
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. And obviously, I've shared this with you before. Like, I've listened to Buzz and spent a ton of time listening to him as he was shaping the basketball program. I would listen to every press conference he had in those first couple of years when he was going through a lot of this stuff. And you hear him talk, and he says he's way ahead of me. He's lying. He's certainly a guy that I look up to. But no, I think when you talk about developing what you want your program to be like, and we talk about being champions, and that's not a moment, that's a life choice, right? And it's what you do every single day, the decisions you make, how you go about your business, how you act when you wake up, how you are responsible to your obligations on and off the field. There's so much that goes into just being a champion in life, right? And before you can ever hoist trophies on a football field, like, those things matter. They matter an awful lot. And we use the word culture. That's the word we use a lot in our program. But that's what we're talking about. We're talking about, what is it like when you're in week 12 and you have the fastest Tuesday practice you've had since Florida week, right? Like, those things matter. Those are things we look at. Those are things we evaluate. And that's where we want our program to get to. And in so many ways, we're still a work in progress with so much of that stuff. But to our kids' credit, they're battling through the ups and downs that come as that mindset continues to grow in the direction we need it to. And they're a resilient group, and we'll bounce back from what happened in South Carolina, and we'll finish this thing the right way.
If winning championships were easy, we'd have multiple champions every year, right? It's supposed to be hard.
Well, yeah, and we talk about that all the time, and I flip it on them all the time. The line, you've heard this out of practice, the line I flip to them all the time is I wasn't there when you chose to play football. So you can't get mad at me because football's hard. You chose to play. You chose to play football in the SEC, the best conference in the country. I had nothing to do with that choice for you guys. Some I recruited, but I had nothing to do with them deciding that this was their passion. And so you chose this, and now as your leader, my job is to explain to you that what you want is really, really hard. Like, the success that you're hoping for, the growth that you're looking for, lifting the trophies, doing the things that you want to do, it's really, really hard. It's a really hard every single day commitment. But in order to accomplish something, you have to know what you have to do to get there. And I think our kids are starting to understand what it takes. Now we just have to be able to go out there and do it on a daily basis. And that's where we're headed.
Buzz uses the word urgency a lot. He is not shy about saying we want our season to end in San Antonio in the Final Four. Football's the same way. Atlanta is a goal. Winning the SEC regular season is a goal. Getting into the postseason is a goal. Mike, some coaches say that's too much for my players. Other coaches say, look, here is what we're aiming for. You and your staff say, if we want to be great, this is what we aim for. Correct?
Yeah, and I think this is what I think, how I look at it and how I've always thought about a lot of these things. It's how I talk about big games. It's like, I believe I'm naive if I don't think that our kids aren't looking at SEC standings, right, aren't aware of what's at stake, aren't aware of the path to it. Like, the kids know all of that. And so for me, as their leader, to stand in front of them and not acknowledge that they're in tune to all that. So it's okay, listen, I understand we have a 3-game playoff. We have to win every single game. Like, we all know that. That's the reality of our situation. Everyone knows it. Good. Now, here's what we have to do. We have to have a great Monday practice. We have to stay focused on the now. We have to stay focused on what's right in front of our face. And we've got to go out there and we've got to do the things we need to do to go play our best football Saturday night against New Mexico State and check box number one, right? That's the first step in this process. And that started Monday and it continued today. And that'll be our message tomorrow about Thursday practice. And but I don't think you have to not acknowledge where we really are, because they all know. Like, everybody in my locker room knows. Every single fan knows, right? Everybody here knows. Like, everybody knows where we're at. It's where we're at. It's just a fact.
Yeah.
But within all of that, it's like, okay, now let's dial back, and this is the plan to be successful. This is the plan to go out and get what you want. This is the plan to finish this thing the right way, and let's stay focused on that.
That is Mike Elko. I want to get your thoughts. We'll take a break, get your thoughts on what he had to say. He kind of joked. He said, Buzz said fast twitch brain. I'm not sure he's correct about that.
Well, you can tell from his response he graduated from an Ivy League school and I went to junior college. So that's not a lie. That's a fact.
Gotcha.
I went to junior college, and he graduated from Penn.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you can just tell by the articulation of his points that my statement was accurate,
Gotcha.
Not an opinion.
We come back to Rudy's. This is the Aggie Basketball Hour with Buzz Williams, and this is Aggie Basketball from Learfield. Head on over to your local Rudy's or Rudy's.com to place an order for their real Texas barbecue. Enjoy 100% oak smoked meats, delicious sides, and Rudy's signature sauce. And don't forget, Rudy serves made-to-order and grab-and-go breakfast tacos every day until 10 a.m. It's the Aggie Basketball Hour with Buzz Williams. We are at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. I'm always fascinated, Buzz, because Mondays and Wednesdays, you and Mike say a lot of the same things. It might be in different language, but it's a lot of the same. The same principles apply, don't they?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think it's specific to sport. I think it's just specific to the leadership role that we play. Obviously, he's coaching many more players than I am and has a much bigger staff. And so, but the functionality of it, I do believe, is the same for sure.
Yeah, it's he's big on honest without making it personal. But there's the honesty. And you go to Team Rule 1 for basketball.
Right.
Is always
regardless of your emotional state.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, halftime, timeouts.
Yeah,
in recruiting, you have to. Otherwise, you can never build a foundation of trust. And if there's not a foundation of trust, then on a team, then it's really not a team.
Yeah. That's what we talk about with relationships, right? It's got to be. But your relationship, Buzz, I don't know how many players I've talked to who said, when I first met Buzz, we never talked basketball. You wanted to get to know the person more than the player, didn't you?
Yeah,
and the family.
I hardly ever talk to him about basketball. Here and there during practice, I might say something about ball, but not near at the rate that most think. Our staff does a tremendous job in the relationship area, but also in the coaching area. And I think, I could be wrong, but I think within how the model has changed, there are no rules.
Right. You're right.
The rule is you can leave whenever you want to leave. Mm-hmm. That's the rule. All the other stuff is just lipstick. And so if that's the case, relative to whatever you believe is important as a coach, if anybody can leave anytime and you're going to have a brand new team every year and there's going to be money associated with that team and there's no rule on the money, so you're competing against teams that have dramatically more, dramatically less, all of those things that you cannot control. The one thing that you can control is the relationship. And so as I have become more and more familiar with what this has become, I've just went all eggs in the basket of I have to build a relationship built on trust and built on love, and I can't have an agenda in my love. Hey, I love you different because you're a better player, you're an older player, you're a younger player, you're the position we need. No, I can't do that. And so if you look at my calendar, nearly all of it is going towards relationships. I spend more time walking with our players individually than I do watching clips. Now, the staff is going to have to watch those clips.
Right.
And they're going to have to teach it to me, so when I say it to the team, they trust me. But I'm spending more time on the relationship side than I am the basketball side.
We've got questions for you, and we return to the Aggie Basketball Hour with Buzz Williams. Stay with us. It's Aggie Basketball from Learfield. At Costa Vida Fresh Mexican Grill, we source high-quality ingredients, make our recipes from scratch every day, starting with our fresh tortillas to our chips and queso, Baja Bowls, quesadillas, tacos, and more. Find us at costavita.com or in South College Station today. We continue with the Aggie Basketball Hour with Buzz Williams. Question time, Buzz. Here we go from Craig. What do you chew on during press conferences? Gum? Candy?
If I'm awake and I'm not eating, I chew Nicorette gum. I dip snuff for 30 years, and am just as addicted to Nicorette gum as I was to snuff. So Corey says the problems that come from the gum are better than the problems that come from the snuff. That's to be determined, but it's more costly. So I guess she doesn't view that as a problem.
How'd you get into the snuff?
I think everybody in the little community where I'm from,
I got you.
that regardless of gender, dip snuff. So, yeah, I was dipping at I dip from 15 to 45. Just if I was awake, I had it in my mouth, and so if I'm awake, I have this in my mouth now.
Was it difficult to make the transition?
Oh, it's a long story.
Save it for another show?
Yeah, I eventually quit, and September the 3rd, 2018, and I haven't cheated once.
Good for you.
But as I have told everyone, but if you want me to start back, I can start back now.
Wow.
Yeah, so this does not solve the addiction.
Gotcha.
It just created another one.
Maureen wants to know, what do you think of Andy's new hairstyle?
I just wish he'd pick one. I don't tell my wife what to do with her hair. I don't tell my daughters what to do with their hair. I've never told Bubba or Mason what to do with their hair. Color it, cut it, short, long, braid it, part it, perm it, any of it. Doesn't bother me. I have too many other issues that we need to fight against, but on Andy's hair, he has good hair. Just pick a style and let's go.
I think once he went to the braids, or he was no longer 6'7". I'm not sure, but he still plays tall. But I kind of missed it when I went to the shoot around. I was like, I
think he's had 8 hairstyle changes in the first 2 weeks of the season, so there may be some identity confusion going on.
Why does Solo cut one sleeve off his shirt, and does it matter which one?
That would be another comical answer. There's probably a lot of things that Solo does that don't need to be revealed, and that's one I choose not to have conversation with him about.
Can I share with everyone that it was Solo's idea to get a basketball for Buzz's career win number 350 that was given to you before the Ohio State game?
Yeah, I think that started with Rock, and when we finished the prayer line that day, Rock presented it to me, which was very kind of him. I know the staff had some involvement with that. And then as Rock I guess they had it positioned for Corey to be there to hand it to me. Mm-hmm. So everybody, all of the adults knew, would be my guess. I didn't ask. And then when Corey handed it to me, Solo said, and that's how fast twitch his brain is, he may be if he took the IQ test, he may be as smart as TJ. And I think TJ's unequivocally the smartest old adult, and not to be negative towards anybody else on our young adult group, but Solo's at the top of that Mensa level test too. He goes, Coach, you ought to have everybody sign it. Mm-hmm. And so Josh is in charge of anything like that, and he's in the 10 years that Josh has been with me, anything like that, articles, meaningful things. I have a love letter box of every year that I've been a coach. When people write me meaningful things, it goes in the love letter box. I have a meaningful box of just my family. So I have, since I've known Josh, so I have 10 love letter boxes. And then anything, someday when I open up a diner, it's going to be my sports bar, but it's not going to be a bar. It's just going to be a diner. And that will house all of my memorabilia. And over the last 10 years, Josh has done some really creative things, such as the 350th ball win, but a lot of really cool framed, every NCAA tournament game that we've been a part of, a lot of really cool things that will never, a basement's not big enough.
Right.
I don't need a man cave. I don't watch TV, so I just like being at home. But we'll have a diner. The diners, if you're interested in knowing, the diner, the name of it is going to be called Sissy's.
Love it.
Because it's
Love it.
kind of country, and Sissy
Love
is
it.
our oldest daughter. Sissy won't work there, but it's going to be called Sissy's. And it's going to be in a strip shopping center. And every Get Better session. Have you been? Have you ever been to one?
No.
Coach Thornton's been to some. So
Yep.
every Get Better group session we've ever been to, and that's been going on for 11 years now.
Yeah.
Josh records all of them.
Really?
And so I have a file of every gym I've ever been in, because in that strip shopping center, we're going to rent out another place next to Sissy's, and it's going to be the weight room.
Love it.
And then inside the weight room, Rock and I are going to have our own offices and a bathroom, because nobody else will hire us, so we're going to hire ourselves. And then kind of like Gold's Gym, you have to be a member to come in the weight room, and we're going to charge just enough to pay for the bills in there, so that Rock and I have a place to go to work every day and critique coaches that we watch on TV. And then when we get hungry,
you go to
because
Sissy's.
we're only going to eat when the sun's up.
Yeah.
We're intermittent fasting now. So we'll get our first and only meal probably at lunchtime at Sissy's.
Love it.
And then we're going to make just
plan.
enough money at Sissy's that we don't have to pay for the eggs and bacon.
It's a great plan. Look, if this broadcasting doesn't work, do you need someone to refill everybody's coffee?
Well, I anticipate there. We have a lot of people in our, not in our program, but people that are associated with me for whatever reason that have just kind of joined the band, is what we call it, Buzz's band, and they have different roles. So we will probably have some coffee cup fillers already.
Gotcha. Okay.
So you won't. You can come to the restaurant.
I'll come.
And
you'll take my money. I will definitely.
Well, we won't
give you
take.
money.
You'll get a comp.
Okay.
Comp. Like we'll orchestrate it.
Gotcha. But I'll leave a big tip, I promise.
And most of the people that you'll be leaving a tip to, you will know. So we'll use it against you that you have relationships with them.
Gotcha. We have one more segment of the Aggie Basketball Hour with Buzz Williams. Come on back. This is Aggie Basketball from Learfield. As we wind up another edition of the Aggie Basketball Hour with Buzz Williams from here at Rudy's, we have one more question. Steve asks, during the non-conference, do you try to teach more attitudes or technique?
I personally probably teach more attitude. I think the staff probably teaches more technique. We've utilized the summer as the rules have changed. I think we've done an increasingly better job of laying a foundation of the techniques. A lot of what we do defensively is unique. And I think when half of your roster is going to be brand new every year, you have to figure out how to balance the teaching of the technique. A lot of the things we do in the first 7 seconds of an offensive possession is one thing. What we do in the next 10 seconds is a different thing. What we do in the last 8 to 10 seconds is something else. And so figuring out the personnel and what allows them to be successful allows us that time in the summer, but also just philosophically how we want to play. We've tried to figure out how to plug and play better, and I think with each passing year with our portal guys, we're doing a better job of that. But I probably coach attitude more throughout the season than I do technique. My technique is play a little harder and play a little meaner and play a little tougher. I've never been very good at the technique stuff, but we have some staff members that are excellent at it. And then one other thing on the,
Sure.
You can't rent a strip shopping center and only have 2 places. And so the third place, this is sincere too, and I've been researching it. We've been spending some time on it over the last couple of years. I love dogs, and so I don't know because I never do normal people things, but when we go out of town and we can't take our dogs, we have to leave them somewhere. And it just so happened that one time I was able to participate in going to pick up our dogs. Well, I never get to do normal things like let's go to Target. Well, I just walk around Target like it's a carnival. So we go to the dog place and Corey goes, you don't have to go in. I'm like, no, I want to go in. Like, what is this? So we go in there and Corey's done it 4,000 times. I've done it once. And I'm like, hey, what is this and what is that? So the lady's going to get the dogs, and here comes the other worker, and she says, Miss Williams, that'll be such and such, the cost. And I go, for keeping the dogs? So we get in the car, and I'm like, sweetie, is this how much we pay? So we're going to start a dog kennel, and then when Rock and I aren't coaching somebody else's team, Rock and I are going to walk the dogs. And then there was a lady that came here the first 3 years. She graduated from here, and she worked in Waco, and she was a vet. And I told her, hey, you're going to be the vet because then we can attract more dogs to the dog kennel because you can bring them to the kennel, and like while their parents are on vacation, they can get all their shots, et cetera, et cetera. So you need a vet so that the dog kennel can amass more revenue.
Gotcha.
And then that'll pay for the rent of the weight room because we have to hire Gep to be rocking our strength coach, right? And then we're going to have a lot of people in the band who needs a job at the diner. And so now it'll be a push. Economically, it'll be a push. And I'll have somewhere to go every day and be able to continue to stay married. It's perfect.
That's the most important. Buzz, great to have on the Southern.
Thank you.
Thank you. Buzz Williams, the Aggie Basketball Hour with Buzz Williams. This is Aggie Basketball from Nashville.